The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to another webinar. This is Krishnendu. I'm logged in using Serena's account. That's why you might see her account as being the active one in your window. We are going to talk about a really cool tutorial today, which will show us the map component as well as some of the other advanced topic like procedures. So I'm going to wait for a couple of minutes. Those of you who are logged in, let's wait for a few minutes to see if others join us or not. In the meantime, please ask your questions if you have any in the question box, and I'll reply to them. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we are going to talk about map apps. So App Inventor apps that includes a map. So when I design map apps, and when I'm running that on my phone, the maps usually need a GPS connection. So it's difficult to demo the map apps indoors. So what I did was I designed this app ahead of time. This past Monday, it was great weather on our campus in our city, and I walked around our campus running this map app that I'm about to demo and recorded my screen so that you all can first see what this app does. And I recorded my screen when the app was running. I recorded my phone screen when the app was running. I overlaid a video feed from my rear camera on my phone so that you can see as I'm walking around my campus. And I'll first demo that video clip for you all to watch. It's just a 1-minute clip to demo what the app that we are talking about, and then we will build that app. So let's go ahead and demo the video clip. And those of you who just joined, we are starting to discuss how to create a basic app in App Inventor using a map. So here is the first video. I have 2 video clips, and I'm going to build 2 apps today. So here's the first video clip that I'm going to show. I hope you can hear the audio when the video clip is running. If you don't hear the audio, just type in the chat box to let me know. So I'm recording this screenshot right now. The first version of the map app. I am on my campus. I'm just walking around, and the idea is for the app to display the current position of the user on the map. So I'm on my university campus right now. It's a beautiful day. We have the West Hall to our left. We have the Nevins Hall to our right. And we will just continue to walk towards the front lawn, and the map will continue to display our position with that green arrow. So this is going to be the first part of the tutorial where we will create a map app using App Inventor, where it tracks the user's location and displays that on the map. So we are coming to the front lawn of our university now. So we are going to now build this app that I just demoed. So all it does is shows a map on my screen, shows the position of the user inside the map, and when the user moves around, updates the marker, updates the user's position on the map. So that's our first app that we are going to build. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new project. I'm going to call it NAF Map 1 tutorial. So this will create a new app for me. Again, we have the designer, and the designer is used, the designer window that you see right now, that's used to create the GUI, the GUI, the graphical user interface for the app. And we have the blocks editor, that's where we create the code, the behavior of the app. So in the designer, we are going to go ahead and go into the maps drawer under our palette and drag a map. As soon as we let it go, it's going to only occupy like the top left quarter of my screen. I want to make it span the entire width of the screen. So I'm going to click on the width property, make it fill parent. I'm going to also change the height property and make that fill parent too. So now that my map shows shows up on the whole screen. We're going to change a few other properties. If you look at it, the map properties at the very bottom right, the zoom level, that shows you the magnification. So I have looked at the map. I've clicked on the map on this and clicked on this more information that shows me the documentation for the map. And if I scroll down all the way to the bottom, the zoom level is, it says 1 to 20. So 1 is the zoomed out, 20 is the zoomed in. Having said that, I have looked at, when I have created the apps, I have noticed that it tells me 18 is the max zoom level. So I'm going to make the zoom level property 18. As soon as I do that, it's going to zoom in. By default, the map shows this latitude and longitude. So that's, I believe, the MIT campus. We're going to change a few other properties of the map. We're going to say show, we're going to click on the show compass. That's going to show the compass on our map, and we're going to click on the show user. We can also click on the show zoom property that gives us this buttons on the top left corner to zoom in and zoom out. We can even want, if we want, we don't have to, but if we want, we can do the show scale that shows us as distance scale at the bottom. So there are different types of maps. The default is the roads. You can have the aerial map. You can have, so that's showing you the MIT campus again. You can have the terrain map. So we will stick with the default roads map. So that's the first component that we need to add. The next component, so the maps have just displays the map. but the phone needs to communicate with GPS satellites to get the GPS coordinates. And that's handled with the location sensor. So if I go under the sensors and look for the location sensor, we're going to see among many other sensors, we have one, the location sensor. I'm going to drag and add that to the app as well. When we do that, that gets added to the bottom as a non-visible component because we get to see the effects of this location sensing, but it's not something visual that we get to see on the screen. Now, in this location sensor, it has a few properties. First of all, it of course has to be enabled. The distance interval, that is a value in meters, and I'm going to choose the 1 meter option. What this means is this location sensor, which has various events. So if we go to location sensor, one of the events that we will see is the location changed event. So whenever the location of my phone changes, this event will be triggered. So this property is kind of controlling how far our position has to change before that event happens. So for this app, just for the video that I showed you, I had it set to 1. So I wanted it to constantly update the map and the app whenever I moved even as little as 1 meter. For practical purposes, people usually set it to at least 10 meters because the smaller value that you have, it's more battery draining. The timer interval, that's also another aspect. I had it set to a really small value. So this interval is in milliseconds. So 1000 milliseconds is a second. So what I'm saying is, as long as, so every second, the app is going to track our position and see if the position changed even needs to be triggered or not. So again, I am selecting these values mainly for demo purposes so that you all can see the change in the map quickly. For practical apps, you probably want it to be at least 10 seconds or a minute or something like that, because you don't want to constantly update the map because that is very, very battery draining. So now that I have added the map and the location sensor, I need to go back to my map and connect the map component to the location sensor component. So I'm making that connection here that this map is going to be responsive to this location sensor one now. So this is all I need for the designer part. I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes and then I'm going to see if you have any questions so far or not and answer those questions before I move on to the blocks part. So go ahead and ask questions that you'll have about this app so far. Andrea has a good question. What did I click to get more information about the map properties? So in the palette, any component that I have, there's a question mark next to that component. If you click on the question mark, you will see that there's always a more info link at the bottom. So you can click on that more info and that'll take you to the documentation page for the map. So that's how I came to the documentation page for the map. And then you'll have to scroll a little bit. It's organized in the same order as it shows up if it's if it is the properties. So yeah, that's a very useful way for your students to know more because there's no way everyone will remember all the details about all these components. So I never try to memorize it or anything. What I try to do for myself is just know what components are out there so that when I need something, I can go and look up the details and use it. Evelyn has a question. Let me see Evelyn's question. Is this map based on where you are located at the moment? No. So this map is right now located for Cambridge, Massachusetts, because App Inventor is MIT's product, right? So by default, they put in the latitude and the longitude for their campus in this center from strings value. Today itself, we are going to do an extended version of this. And in that one, we are going to change this property. It's a good question, Evelyn. And in the blocks, I'm going to answer how I'm getting the current location. So the demo, the video that I showed you just a few minutes back at the beginning, that is my campus. I showed that. I shot that video last Monday. So the map is set by default just for the starter location. Usually, so the way I'm going to describe the code right now, as soon as the app launches, it will automatically sense. You can set the starter location here if you don't want to change it at all. But in the code, I'm going to actually change it. So the default location gets set here. But the way I'm going to do it is in the code, I'm going to use the location sensor to get the current coordinates and display that one. So if a person opens the app in Boston, Boston shows up. If the same person opens the app in LA, LA shows up. So let me segue to the code part, and that'll probably answer some of your questions. So in the blocks, what I want to do is I want to first, when the app, these are good questions, by the way, so keep asking these questions. So what I first want to do is when the screen initializes, when the app launches, instead of, even though in the designer, I didn't change this center for string to start with, what I want to do once the app is launching, I want to figure out the current coordinates and I want to display that. So when my app starts out, screen1.initialize event is automatically triggered always. So this is the first event that happens. Whether I have it in my code or not, doesn't matter. The app, whatever the app launches, it triggers this event. If there is any code within that event, that'll execute. If not, it moves on and continues. So what I want to do is I want to see how I can make the map display my current location. So notice the map has a lot of events that we can use, but we're actually going to use an action. So if we look into this lavender colored blocks, we will see that there is a map.pan2. So if I hover my mouse over on this block, it'll say pans the map center to the given latitude and longitude and adjusts the zoom level to the specified zoom. So I'm going to drag this block, place this within my screen1.initialize, and then I'm going to look into the location sensor for my current latitude and longitude. So if I go to location sensor and look at all the different blocks, I will see that there are two blocks which gives me the current coordinates. So I'm going to drag those two. I'm going to plug those in. And I'm going to plug in the value 18 from my math blocks because that's the highest magnification. That's the max zoomed in, as much zoomed in as possible. So now that I have this block, even though initially I didn't touch this, by default it is always set to MIT's coordinate. When I will actually run this app, whatever location I am in, the map will automatically center to that location. So it'll take just a second to get there, but I will, as soon as I launch the app, it'll automatically show me on the map correctly centered. So this is the screen1.initialize. Now, in the video, let me go back to the video actually. In the video, when I was moving around, the marker was also moving around. And the idea is for the app to display the current position of the user on the map. So let's continue to walk towards the front lawn and part of the tutorial where we will create. So we are coming to the front lawn of our university now. So as you can see, as I was walking around in that video, that marker, the green arrow, was moving around too. So that aspect is triggered so that this screen1.initialize event happens one time when the app launches. So I now need another event which is going to respond to me moving around. That event is within location sensor. So whenever the location sensor whenever I change my position, this event is triggered. And how frequently the frequency of this event happening, that's controlled by this location sensor's distance interval property and time interval property. So if the distance changes by, since I've set it to 1, if my distance changes by more than 1 meter, it's going to be triggered. Since I've set the time interval to 1 second, it's going to again trigger pretty much every second as long as the distance changes. So the triggering of that event, the frequency of triggering, is controlled by these two things. If I had it set to 60 seconds, that means the distance changed event is not going to be triggered unless 60 seconds have elapsed. So it's going to wait. Even if my distance changes, it'll not trigger a new event within 60 seconds of the previous event. So I set it to 1 second just for demo purposes. So this location sensor, that location changed event, is going to be triggered, it's going to be fired every time I walk more than 1 meter. So I now want to again kind of recenter the map at my current location. So what I did was I copied this whole block and just put that in here too. And that's all I did for that app that you saw in the video. Now, as you can see, these are two identical blocks. When we have two identical blocks like this, that's repeated code, that's duplicated code. It's not a good idea to have duplicate codes. It's a bad idea because if you have to change something at one place, you'll have to remember, okay, I need to go to this other place and change it there as well. So it's difficult to maintain duplicate code. So when you need to have the same code work at multiple places, there's a way to do it more efficiently, and that's by using procedures. So I'm going to go ahead and delete one of these sets of blocks. So Evelyn has a question. If your map is based on your campus, how do you customize based on whatever map you want to use? So give me more details, Evelyn. Do you mean like the location, like whatever map location? So that's a good question. This latitude and the longitude, that gets the signal from the GPS, and that's going to be the latitude and longitude of the app user wherever they are in the whole world. The current coordinates. So it's automatically going to, so if I am in London, it's going to show up the map of London automatically, because this is reading the latitude and the longitude in real time of the user. So that's why I have to be outside. If I try to do it from home, it might not work. Well, I might actually try, because sometimes the phones can get the coordinates from the cell towers as well. So let me actually try that first and see if it works or not. So I'm going to connect my phone. I have the app already installed on my phone. So I'm going to connect my phone, cast my phone onto the screen, and see if it works or not. I mean, if it works, then it's going to show me the my home coordinates. Like, it's going to show me my home on a map. So I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'll try. So I'm casting my phone now onto the screen. I'm going to go to the app that I already have installed. This was the app that I was running. And notice it's kind of like stuck now, because it's showing me something. It's getting the values. Yep, it showed me my house right now. So I live on Cherokee Circle. So it's showing me the correct location. So if I pull up the Google Maps, so this was the map that I have designed. So notice it's showing me my current location just from even though I don't have GPS access because I'm indoors, it's getting my location from the cell towers. It can figure out location of phones from cell towers as well. So let me actually show you on Google Maps. Google Maps does a really good job of locating. So this is my current location. So that's my house right there, and it's showing me even like the current. I am my home office from the room that I'm sitting in right now. It's the southwest corner of the house. So look at how accurate the location is. It's showing that the phone is located in the southwest corner of my house. So if I now go back to the app that I built using App Inventor, that's pretty much showing me the same location. It doesn't have as much information about like the house outlines like the Google map did, but location wise, it's showing me the exact same location. So I hope that answers your question, Evelyn. So it basically in real time reads the location of the device where this app is running from either GPS coordinates or cell towers and makes the map center at that point. So now, as I was mentioning before, having repeated blocks like this is perhaps not the best way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete one of these sets. I'm going to take the other block outside and put it in a procedure. So there are two different types of procedures. One is a procedure which just does something. The other does something and returns a result. So over here for this app, we're going to use this stop procedure block. So we are going to call it map pan, and then put this within that. And then go back to my procedure blocks. I'll see that there's a new block called map pan, and I'm going to put that in both these events. So that's the final version of the first app. This is the app which is going to automatically show you on a map, show your position on a map, and then as you move around, it's going to show your updated locations on the map using that marker. So I'm going to stop for a couple of minutes and see if you'll have more questions or not. And then I'm going to move on to the more advanced version. I have an extended version of this app. I'm going to first show the video of the extended version and then build that app. No, I didn't mention that, Evelyn. I didn't say that I created an app. I must have misspoke. Sometimes when I'm speaking, I misspeak. So you might have heard it right. I might have misspoken. So I didn't create an app that reads the app. So I created the app, this app that you're seeing right now. What I probably meant was this app gets the current location to so gets the current location from either GPS or cell towers and then uses that location. That's what I probably meant by red. What are you using to try it out? I'm just using my smartphone. I'm using my cell phone right now. So the video that I used was called, so I have an app that I installed. So hold on. So let me show you my phone. This is my phone. So I'm just casting my phone on the screen right now. I installed this app called X Recorder from the App Store. And this lets me record my phone screen at any time. So that's what I use to shoot that video of me moving around in my campus. And then the second software that I'm using right now, that's called Visor. This is not free. This is a paid software. I think I paid like $5 or something. This lets me connect my phone using a USB cord to my computer, and this casts my phone screen on my computer in a window. I hope that answers your question. So Visor is the software that I'm using to cast my phone on my computer. And X Recorder was the app that I used when I was actually walking around my campus with that app open. So no, so again, I already have, I think Evelyn, you had another question, how I open the app without the QR code. That's because I already installed the app. So for installing the app, I had to use the QR code, of course, but I installed the app ahead of time. So it's there in my phone permanently. So that's why, so these apps are things that I've already installed. I'm not testing it. I've created it and I've installed it permanently. I hope that. So I think with emulator it might work because the latest emulator, which I think I have installed here. Let me try. So the latest emulator, you can create a mock location, I believe, but I'm not sure. So I at times have, hold on, let me see if my AI starter is running. And then let me try to connect to not the companion. I want to connect to the emulator. Let's see if it works or not. It's starting. I don't know why, but it's really big. The emulator. Let me try to see if I can make it smaller or not. There we go. So in this emulator, this is the new emulator for Windows. In this emulator, you can click on those three dots at the bottom, and then you can set a latitude and longitude. And then that's gonna let the map work in the emulator too. So notice by default, the latitude and the longitude is set to Google's campus now, because again, the Android is Google. So if I change it to some other location, the emulator will show that location. So Andrew has a question, does this only work with a phone? So, I mean, it'll work with an emulator, but you want something which has a GPS coordinate, basically, which can read GPS. So for most parts, it's going to be phone. So it'll work with emulator, but with emulator, I can't really simulate movement, right? So just like I cannot simulate a shake with an emulator, I cannot simulate a movement, but it'll show you the map and the location. But there's, at least I don't know any way of simulating movements. I guess I can change the coordinates. Let me actually try. So there's this website called latlong. So that latlong.net that lets me find out the position of any place. So my city is Valdosta. So I found the coordinates of Valdosta. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to see if I can plug in the coordinates of Valdosta, and that works or not. Let me first close the visor. So Valdosta, latitude is this. I'll copy that, paste that. The longitude is this. I'll copy that. I'll paste that. And then I'll hit send. So let me see. Now it changed again, and it's now showing on the map Valdosta. So you can simulate movement by continuously changing these, but it's not going to give you your students the real feeling, but it's still doable if you don't have anything else. So let's see, as a more question. So Evelyn has, is this something that can be tested using QR code, using the companion? Absolutely, yes. Yes, you can certainly test it out using the companion. Now, Evelyn's has a question, is this type of map app something that you can adjust to augmented reality? Use your fingers to move around like in a real GPS? I honestly don't know, but my gut feeling is no, because I don't think App Inventor supports augmented reality yet. So it's going to be really difficult to build that in App Inventor right now. But I might be wrong. I honestly haven't thought about it. So zoom in, zoom out, move like a regular GPS navigator. Yeah, I mean, the GPS navigation part will work, but augmented reality, when you say augmented reality, what I'm thinking is like your camera is looking at the surroundings. So the video that I had, the video looks a little like augmented reality because I overlaid my camera into the map, but that was using that X Recorder app. That was not the App Inventor app, so that might have confused you. So I wanted to show you that I'm moving around, but that was because I was overlaying my camera feed on the map but that was outside of the App Inventor app. I hope that makes sense. I did that using a separate app which had nothing to do with App Inventor. So with App Inventor, this is all I'm getting right now. That window with my camera feed, that was not through the App Inventor app. It was through a different app. But I don't know if it's possible to do it. I don't think you, right now, I don't think in the App Inventor app, you can drag a map and then put a camera box above it. I don't think that's possible. I might not know about it, but my initial thought is no, that's not possible right now. So in the interest of time, let me now move on to the second app, which is the extension of this. So let me show you all a second video. So I have a second app now. This is kind of a more advanced app from the first one. This one, I have added this geofence. So in our university front lawn, we have a fountain in the middle. Today the fountain is not running. I guess it was too cold last night and they had to shut it down, otherwise the pipes will freeze. So as I keep on walking, I have created this circular area centered around that fountain. And the idea is when the user gets within that circle, that top button, which is right now saying outside geofence, will change color, and it's going to say inside geofence, and it's going to also show a marker on the map to display our current location. So it's a beautiful day today. This is our university campus, and we are walking towards the fountain right now, and I just got inside that geofence. So the top button changed color and it's now actually active. Previously it was not active. So this is the fountain that I was talking about. So right now, since we are within the geofence, the markers is showing us our current location, and we are going to now walk away, and we will see that when we get outside that geofence, the app is going to again show that we are outside the fence, and it's going to make the marker hidden. It's going to also change the button color, and it's going to disable the button. There we go. So we're outside that geofence right now, and that's what the app is showing. So I got the idea about this app from, so I don't know if you guys have heard or not, some universities have started tracking students' football game attendance. Alabama does this. So Alabama uses an app to track students and see if they're within the stadium or not, because they want to give like priority to students who want postseason football tickets. Those who have actually attended the games during the regular season, they get priority. So the way Alabama figures that out is by using a geofenced app. So when a student is inside the stadium watching a regular season football game, they get to do something in that app. I don't know exactly how it works, but that's the idea. So you can designate some area on a map as a special geofenced area, and your map can react to that. So that's what I'm going to now build in this second version. So I'm going to continue working on this app because the second app, that's kind of like a continuation of this. So the first thing I'm going to do, as I was mentioning before, in this map, this center for string, I'm going to make that map centered on my university campus front lawn. So in order to get the coordinates of that front lawn, I'm going to go to that latlong.net website. I'm going to put in my university's name, and that's going to, oh, I think I'm asking too many questions. So it's thinking that I'm a bot. I'm not a real user. So this is the address for my university. So I put that in. So as you can see, as I zoom in, this green area right here, that's my university's front lawn. So I can click anywhere and that'll bring the marker to that point. So that's the central fountain that we have in our front lawn. So I brought my marker there. I'm going to copy this coordinate for that location, and I'm going to paste that in this center from string. So as soon as I do that, it's now going to center the map around my university. So what I also did was I went ahead and added a circle in my map and a button on the top of the map. So I'm going to first go ahead and add the button. So I just added the button above my map. I'm going to make the width of the button fill parent as well. I'm going to start with, I'm going to have the text of the button say outside geo fence. I'm going to change the text color to red, and I'm going to make the text font size to 25 or something to make it a little larger. And to start with, I'm going to have the button disabled. A disabled button, so this enabled property, I'm going to have it unchecked. That basically means when the button is still going to show up, it's just that it's not clickable at that point. If someone clicks on that button, nothing happens. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the maps, and I'm going to drag a circle within my map. So when I drag a circle, by default, it's red. By default, it's filled up. So I'm going to change the radius. I think I used, in the video that you saw, I used 25 as my radius, and this is in meters because that's the default. I'm going to change the fill color to none. That's going to make it a transparent circle. I chose just because I wanted to, I chose blue as my stroke color, and then I made the line a little thicker. Actually, I made a mistake. It should be the stroke width, which I was changing to make it a little thicker. So stroke opacity, I think that value has to stay at 1. I don't even actually know what that value does. So I brought this circle. So this is, you can have a map. A map is kind of like a container. And then you can have other things within the map. So now I'm going to first start building how to change that button to display whether I'm inside the geofence or outside the geofence. So I'm going to wait for a minute and I'll see if you all have any questions or not. By the way, I'll probably go past 9 o'clock by 5 minutes today, but I do want to finish the app, so I hope that's okay. So Evelyn has a question. So the center from the screen properties panel, which is in the maps, the center from the screen properties panel is what you use to get the X location or whatever map. So this is the X and Y location, just the starting location. If you don't change it, so by default, when the map starts, it's going to be centered at that point. Beyond that point, you can drag your finger to move the map around, or you can make the app change the central position of the map. Yes, that's exactly what I did, Evelyn. I went to the latlong.net to get the location of where I wanted to center to start with, and that's what I placed right here. So I went to latlong.net, looked up my university address, clicked in the middle, that placed the marker there, with gave me the XY coordinates there. I copied that, and then I pasted that here. That's exactly what I did. So that meant the map, when this app starts, is going to be centered right there. And then I'm placing the circle, this circle feature of the map inside the map, centered around that. Again, the circle's latitude and longitude automatically is, since I centered the map already and then placed the circle inside the map, it picked up the central, it picked up the position of the map itself. Had I placed the circle on the upper right, notice the latitude and longitude changes a little bit. So whenever I move this circle around, the latitude and longitude changes a little bit. So that's automatic. So I'm placing that in the middle of my map just because that's where I want it. So now, good. I'm glad you got that. So now what I want to do is, when in my blocks the person is moving around, what I want to do is I want to see if the distance of between my current location and that circle is 0 or not. If the distance is 0, then that means I'm within the circle. If the distance is more than 0, then it means I'm outside the circle. So what I'm now going to do is I'm going to look into this circle, and I'll see that it has several distance. It actually has 2 distant calculation blocks. One of them calculates the distance between the circle and an XY coordinate. So this is what I'm going to use. So this needs the XY coordinate. So I'm going to get the X coordinate from the latitude. So this, whenever this location sensor, that location change event is triggered, each time I change my location, the new latitude and the new longitude is available here. So I'm going to plug those in over here. And then this, if I go to circle and if I click on the distance to point and click on help, that again shows me the documentation for this. So this distance to point computes the distance between the circle and the given XY coordinate. And then this third slot, if the centroid is true, then the distance is computed from the center of the circle. Otherwise, the distance is computed from the closest point. So that basically means I can either specify true or false into this. If I mention true there, then the distance is calculated between my current XY coordinate and the center. If I mentioned false in there. The distance is calculated from my current xy coordinate and the closest point on the circumference of the circle. So I'm going to use the false option because I want it from the edge of the circle. And then I am going to plug this in into an if statement. And I'm going to compare this to see if this is less than 0 or not. So I'm going to drag this equality block, plug that in. So if this distance between my current coordinate and the outline of the circle, whatever point on the outline of the circle which is closest to me, if that is less than 0, then that means I am within that geofence. If it is greater than 0, that means I'm outside that geofence. So I'm going to make this if and if else block. So if I'm within the geofence, then I want to change the button's text color to green from red to denote that I'm within the geofence. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm also going to change the text of the button. So initially the button's text was outside geofence. I'm going to now change it to inside geofence. And finally, I'm going to make the button enabled. It was disabled before. That means it was just there. We could see it, but we couldn't click it or anything. Now I'm going to make it enabled. So now I can click and that will make the button.click event happen, and I can then respond. I can build onto the app that I demoed in the video and do more things based on that button click. So this is the button part when I'm within the geofence. I need to do the reverse when I'm outside the geofence. So I'm gonna duplicate these 3 blocks. And when the distance is greater than, so this is less than equal to actually. So I'm going to select less than equal to. So when the distance is less than equal to 0, that means I'm within or on the edge of the circle. When it is greater than 0, that means I'm outside the circle, outside the geofence. So I'm going to change the text back to outside the geofence. Let me put the space there. And I'm going to finally, again, disable the button when I'm outside the geofence so that people can't use that button at that point. So I'm again going to stop and let you all ask questions. This was the button part. In the video, there was a marker too, and I'm going to spend some minutes to explain how to do the marker part. So the marker part, what I did was I went back to my map. I now dragged a marker. I changed the color. By default, it's red. I changed it. You can change the color to something else. So I think I selected cyan. I didn't change any other property, but what I did was I initially had it invisible. So I unchecked the visible property. So the marker is there because we see it here, but it's just not visible on the map right now. And then when I was within my geofence, I changed the marker's visibility property to true. So I set the marker.visible to true. That's going to make my marker display. And then I looked at the markers, different procedures that are there, and I saw that there's a set location that sets the location for the marker. I placed that within this if part as well and set the latitude and the longitude to display the marker at my current location as well. That was just, again, just to demo. And then when I was outside the geofence, I just duplicated this block and I set it to false. So that will hide the marker when I was outside the geofence. So that was the whole app. So I'm again gonna wait. I know I'm a little over beyond 9 o'clock, but that's okay. I'll let you all ask questions, see what kind of questions you'll have. So this is the app which, let me play the video again so that now that I build the app, you can think about it one more time. So I have a second app now. This is kind of a more advanced app from the first one. This one, I have added this geofence. So in our university front lawn, we have a fountain in the middle. Today the fountain is not running. I guess it was too cold last night and they had to shut it down, otherwise the pipes will freeze. So as I keep on walking, I have created this circular area centered around that fountain. And the idea is when the user gets within that circle, that top button, which is right now saying outside geofence, will change color, and it's going to say inside geofence, and it's going to also show a marker on the map to display our current location. So it's a beautiful day today. This is our university campus, and we are walking towards the fountain right now, and I just got inside that geofence. So the top button changed color and it's now actually active. Previously it was not active. So this is the fountain that I was talking about. So right now, since we are within the geofence, the markers is showing us our current location, and we are going to now walk away, and we will see that when we get outside that geofence, the app is going to again show that we are outside the fence, and it's going to make the marker hidden. It's going to also change the button color, and it's going to disable the button. There we go. So we're outside that geofence right now, and that's what the app is showing. So this is the code for the app that you just saw. So I hope this makes sense. This is something I think your students will enjoy. I've seen students ask about map apps and how to do things. This is just the starting point. Your students can do a lot of things. They can like add markers, and when you add a marker, you can open a separate screen where they can enter something about that location. And yeah, so ask more questions. I'm glad, Evelyn, you like this. You like this topic. I was excited when I was thinking about this lesson and planning about this, and I actually was so this past. I had thought about this app for maybe like 10 days now, and I built the app, and then I was waiting for a nice day because most of the days, even though I live in South Georgia, which is very close to Florida, so it never gets really super cold here. I mean, 40 degrees for us is pretty cold. So I was waiting for a clear, nice day when it was 60 degrees outside to shoot the video. I know there are probably many teachers who are like, what? It's 40 degrees is cold for y'all? But yeah, it is. So yeah, I waited for a nice day to walk around and shoot the video, and I was excited to share this with y'all. So I'll wait for one more minute to see if y'all have any more questions or not, and if not, we'll stop here today. Thank you all. I appreciate you all enjoying the talk today. Let's stop here today. You all have a good night too, and a good rest of the week. Hope your classes are going well and you all are staying safe in this pandemic times. Good night, all.